Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Mary Mac. Today we're going back to North Africa for a really good, tasty, different sort of recipe that is wonderful and fragrant and, it's just delicious. It is called Moroccan Chicken Tajine. The reason it is called that name, first of all, it comes from Morocco. Secondly, of course, it does have chicken in it. And third, in Morocco, it is cooked in a tagine, which is a type of cooking pot that, if you're not familiar with, it's basically a heavy clay pot that has a sort of a lid that looks like a chimney that sits on top of it. And what it does is it allows you to cook something at a constant temperature with very little heat underneath it. Kind of sort of like, I use a Dutch oven because I do not have a tagine, which if anyone from my family is listening, they make great gifts. They're really pretty too. They're just made for cooking. We talked about this before, like with a lot of Asian dishes, which are made in a wok because you want to use as little fuel possible to cook because you don't have that much available. In that same sort of a thing, it's very hot in Morocco, and you don't want to heat your house up, by cooking something all day long. So with this method of cooking, you can use a limited amount of heat and allow a thing to cook all day long, create a beautiful dish while you're doing something else. So this recipe has a lot of processes with it, not anything super complicated, but there are some ingredients that you will either have to find or make yourself. And one of those ingredients is preserved lemons. If you live in a bigger city, you could probably find preserved lemons in any store that sells like Mediterranean or Arabic foods. You could probably find them there. If not, I'm also going to tell you how to make those. So if you don't have preserved lemons available and you don't want to make preserved lemons, just remember you can use just a regular old lemon in the recipe. It'll just be a little bit more lemony, but it's not going to change the flavor that much. So here we go with our Moroccan chicken tagine. This recipe really uses things that you should have in your pantry cupboard. The only thing you're probably going to have to get is a box of Moroccan style couscous, which is the very, very small couscous. I just use a box mix of it because it's so much easier. So here are your ingredients. You'll need olive oil, 6 cloves of garlic minced, 1 yellow onion sliced thinly, about 6 chicken thighs, boneless and skinless, and you can trim some of the fat off of those if you like, a tablespoon of fresh parsley minced or a teaspoon of dry parsley, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of pepper, 2 teaspoons of ginger, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 1 teaspoon of cumin, a half teaspoon of turmeric, 1 preserved lemon sliced thinly, or a regular lemon if you didn't find a preserved lemon, 1 cup of green olives, like very nice sized green olives. If you can't find those in your store, the small green olives that have a pimento stuffed in them work fine, 2 tablespoons of water, and as I said, a box mix of couscous. So here you go. The first thing you want to do is prep your ingredients. So the chicken is going to be seasoned with your herbs and spices and left in a metal bowl in your refrigerator while you prepare the rest of your stuff. So you can actually do this a little bit ahead of time. Take your boneless, skinless chicken thighs, trim any fat off of them that you don't want, and put them into a metal bowl, and then sprinkle the chicken with your parsley, salt, pepper, ginger, paprika, cumin, and turmeric, and turn it to kind of coat with the spices, and then drizzle a tablespoon of olive oil on that. Put some plastic wrap on that bowl and set that in a refrigerator while you work on your onions and garlic. In a large Dutch oven or a large heavy bottom pan with a lid, I use my cast iron Dutch oven. It works great for this recipe. Use your Dutch oven, put in a tablespoon of olive oil or so, and then saute your garlic and onions until your onions are translucent. Once you get to that point, you're going to turn your heat down on low or turn it off for a second. And you're going to take your seasoned chicken, which they should sit for really like an hour or so is way long enough. Half hour's fine. So get your chicken thighs out and arrange them on top of your onions and garlic in your Dutch oven. And then you're going to put your 2 tablespoons of water on top of that and put that on the stove and then bring that up to simmer again, just a nice light simmer. And on top of your chicken now, you want to spread your very thinly sliced preserved lemon or lemon and your green olives. And then just set the lid on that, and you're going to have that on the lowest setting on your stovetop and let that simmer and cook for about an hour. And you can keep an eye on it. You don't want to lift the lid too much, but keep an eye on it. If it seems like it's getting too hot, you can turn it. I don't know how everyone's stove works. On my stove, I ended up turning it off for a little while and then turning it back on because my stove it's an electric stove, but it's one of those ones that kind of mimics gas stove cooking. So it doesn't go as low as you would think. You just want it to cook very slow and low. Just be careful to not burn it, keep an eye on it. You don't have to stir it or anything. But like I said, if it seems like it's getting too hot, you can turn the heat off and, let it go like that. You can also do this in your oven. If you want to saute your onions and garlic and put your chicken, lemon, and olives in, and then put your pan in the oven, you can set your oven at 350 and bake it for an hour in the oven instead of doing the stovetop. That's another way to do it, but whatever works for you is fine. Once you have that cooked, you're going to make your couscous. And then what I did, I have a big flat pasta bowl. So I put all the couscous in there and I leveled it out. And then I very carefully lifted each chicken thigh and set it on the couscous and then poured the other toppings over the top to serve it. And it makes a very pretty presentation. And it's very aromatic with all those different spices and the olive and the lemon. You get a wonderful smell off of it. And this dish, it's not super spicy. Your only spice you really have is pepper, black pepper. So it's not super spicy, but it's very flavorful because of the variety of spices that you put in. This is really a delicious dish. It's especially delicious if you can find the preserved lemon. But if you can't, I'm going to tell you how to make your own preserved lemons, which if you're going to do it for this recipe, you need to start 2 weeks ago. Get your lemons ready. So this was a lot of fun to do. I got this preserved lemons recipe off of Serious Eats, which is an excellent, excellent recipe source. I don't know where this Moroccan Chicken Tajine recipe from. It was very oddly written, and I can't describe. I had to fix it because I couldn't understand it. And I thought, I think if I can't understand it, most people would probably not be able to also understand it. So I kind of worked it around and adjusted it so that it makes sense reading it, because it almost seems like it was an AI recipe because it was very repetitive. You know how that is. But anyway, it's a good recipe. So I did fix that one. The Serious Eats one, I just added some information to it, which if you do look on Serious Eats, you'll see it's about the same as mine, except I added some extra information to it. So in order to make preserved lemons, you need a largemouth glass quart jar with a lid. Okay? That's the most important thing you need. And then you need the lemons. I used, in my jar, I was able to fit 4 lemons because my lemons were big. So I would say I put on the instructions 3 to 5 lemons, depending on the size of the lemons. And then what you can do is when you're going to make this, put your lemons in your jar to see how many fit. They're going to compress a little bit when you put them into the jar after they've gone through the process. But you don't want to think you can fit 6 or 7 lemons in there and then you can't, So 3 to 5 lemons, depending on size. You're going to need a half a cup of kosher salt. I recommend Morton's kosher salt. It's the best one that I've used ever. And then you need a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. So what you want to do first, scrub your lemons really well. Use a vegetable scrubber, clean them really well. And you're going to need a nice size stainless steel or glass bowl to get your process going. If you use a glass bowl, that's great because you can look at your lemons. And a glass bowl with a lid, perfect. Plastic wrap is fine though. So you need to scrub your lemons really well. And you want to trim about a 1/4 inch off of the top and bottom of each lemon, like just flatten them. And then you're going to quarter them, but not the whole way through. So you want to quarter them about a 1/2 inch from the bottom. Stop cutting so that they kind of flail open like a little weird looking tulip. And then put them in the bowl that you have. After you quarter them, put them in the bowl. Now you want to mix your salt and sugar together. And just take that 1/2 cup of salt, 1/4 cup of sugar in a small bowl, mix them together till they're well blended. And then take a spoon and carefully spoon your mixture into each lemon, like into the quartered area. So you're getting into the, what do you call the inside of a lemon? I don't know what that's called. You know, the fruit part of the lemon. You want to, whatever that inside part is, that's where you want your salt and sugar. So get that in there and then do each one of the lemons and then sprinkle it over the top. And you can kind of like push them down into the bowl a little bit and cover that bowl. And you're going to put that in the refrigerator. You can put that in there overnight, or if you're not going to be able to get to it, you know, like maybe 1 or 2 days in the refrigerator's fine. When you go back the next day, the lemons will have released some liquid because when you put salt and or sugar on fruit, it draws the juice out of it. So what you're going to do is one at a time, take those lemons and like hold the split shut as well as you can with the salt and sugar in there and put them into your quart jar. I had to stagger mine to get them to go in, but like I said, you can kind of cram them a little bit because they're quartered like that. And you want to kind of squeeze them down in there so that the juice will start to leak out. And you want to squeeze them down enough that the juice comes up and covers the lemons. So what I did was, as I put each lemon in, I kind of squeezed it up against the side of the jar. And I got them all in there. And once I got them all in, I just took my hand and pressed down on them and got the juice to come out of them so that the juice would come up over them. The juice that's in the bowl, pour that in. And any salt and sugar that's in that jar, you want to get all that in with your lemons, okay? Then put your lid on it and put it in the refrigerator for at least 2 weeks before you use them, which is why I said, if you want to make your own, listen, when I got this recipe, I was making it for an international dinner, okay? So when I got this recipe, when I found it, I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, preserved lemons. Oh, where do I get those? I couldn't find any. So then I found the Serious Eats recipe for preserved lemons and I'm like, holy cow, I got to make these like right now so I have them. But I didn't know what they would be like or what they would taste like or anything, you know. After 2 weeks, I go and I get my lemon out to do a test run of this recipe. And it was the smell of it was incredible. And what happens when you have them in that brine is the skin and the rind become like soft but not mushy, okay? And you can put that in your mouth and eat it. And it's not, I mean, it's amazing. I sliced a piece off because I thought, well, I'm going to see what this is like. I was so shocked because it was basically like a pickled lemon, kind of. But I can't even describe. It's completely different flavor than you've had. And the smell of it is phenomenal. So when I made my tagine, the first time I made it, I sliced my lemon up and put it on there. And I was like, okay. And I had these really nice big green olives. I can't think of the brand name of them, but they're like an Italian green olive. They're probably like an inch long, nice big olives. And I used those. And it was very good. So the second time I made it, I thought, I'm going to take some of that juice and use it on the tagine. When I put it together, I'm going to use that. So I cut back my salt a little bit on my chicken. And I took some of the juice out of my preserved lemons and put on it. And that was super, super duper. And the part when I was marinating my chicken, I did that. They were a lot of fun to use. I haven't found other recipes that use preserved lemons, but I think anything that you use like a baked lemon in, and I mean there's a lot of recipes that you do use a baked lemon in like that, it would be delicious in any one of those. It's just delicious. So there you go. You got your preserved lemon recipe, and you can make those and they're fun. And then you have your Moroccan Chicken Tajine recipe. So you have a nice, fun recipe when the weather is really crummy out this winter, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll make that. You can start in advance and make your preserved lemons because they smell like summertime. I mean, they really do. They just smell delicious. Then you can make your chicken tagine and enjoy it. And I'm telling you, if you ever thought like baked olives, ooh, they're delicious. I mean, they're delicious. So I hope you give this recipe a try. I had a lot of fun doing this because it was just the aromas were incredible, and it was just a completely different, with the couscous and the flavors and everything, it was a completely different recipe than I'd ever made before, and the flavors were just out of this world. So I encourage you to give this a try because it is well worth your time.
And make sure to check us out online on social media at Mary Mac Bakehouse and on our website, marymacbakehouse.com.
Thanks a lot for listening if you did, and if you didn't, too bad for you.